Fox's David Spunt. 6 atmospheric river storms have ravaged California, and there's more on the way. Southern California bore the brunt of the earlier storms that left at least 17 dead. But the next storm will focus on Northern California.
Millions are under flood watches as response crews scramble to clear roads from downed trees, mud, and rock slides. Pacific Gas and Electric says it's working to restore power to more than 43,000 still without it. Emergency crews had to pull 2 people to safety this week after 2 vehicles fell into a massive sinkhole. And at Union Station in Los Angeles, a pedestrian walkway leading to the train platforms flooded. Forecasters warn the storms will continue for at least another week. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
A fire at the Karas chemical plant in LaSalle, Illinois is contained without injuries, but it left everything with a green substance. This man describes that.
When I hit the windshield wipers, it looked black to me, then it turned green, and now it's like a brown color.
The company says some of the substance is used as a drinking water material and does not pose a threat. America's listening to Fox News.
Fox News Sunday has a new voice, and her name is Shannon Green.
I've spent more than 20 years covering stories that matter to Americans.
Variety says Shannon Green launches a round.
Curious, tenacious, always after the story. On this show, we'll get to the heart of the issue. And in this town, they work for you.
Forbes says Green's already making the show her own. See what everyone is talking about. Fox News Sunday with Shannon Green.
I know you've got some questions, America, so let's get some answers.
From the Fox News Podcast Network, Fox News Rewind Financial Crisis '08.
This is an extraordinary period for America's economy.
A look back at the biggest financial crisis since the Great Depression.
The market is not functioning properly.
And the events leading up to it from the people who were there.
You started to see the Dow plunge in synchronicity with the vote on the House floor.
Subscribe now at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts. Never, ever 100% trust Wall Street.
Officers responding to a shooting in New Mexico find something rather unusual.
Police officers in Albuquerque arrived to a home Tuesday afternoon after reports of shots fired. They followed a blood trail to an unlocked trailer where they discovered a Bengal tiger in a dog crate. The Albuquerque Police Department posting video of the cub. Authorities also found drugs inside the house, guns, cash, and a small alligator. The New Mexico Department of Game and Fish has custody of the Bengal tiger, confirming Wednesday it's not the same Bengal tiger they've been on the hunt for since September. Matt Napolitano, Fox News.
A federal judge in Colorado sentences a drug dealer to life in prison. Bruce Holder was convicted of being the source of fentanyl that killed 30-year-old John Ellington of Carbondale in 2017. Prosecutors say that Holden was responsible for bringing in tens of thousands of pills spiked with fentanyl to the state. Births in the U.S. continue to decline.
A CDC study finds that half of women under 45 are childless. That's a drop of nearly 55% from the previous 4-year period. The study also finds that more women are delaying having children until later in life, concluding that women obtaining higher levels of education and putting years ahead of becoming mothers are reasons, as well as easy access to contraception and instability in relationships. Baumgartner, Fox News.
And First Lady Jill Biden has 3 skin lesions removed from her face. Doctors at Walter Reed Military Hospital say that 2 of the lesions were cancerous, but they believe they removed all the cells. President Biden accompanied his wife to the hospital for the procedure. The First Lady has cell carcinoma, which is a much more treatable form of skin cancer. I'm Carmen Roberts, and this is Fox News.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/joy. That's forhims.com/joy for your free online visit. forhims.com/joy.
Today, the Matt Walsh Show. The media frantically reports that trans activists are fleeing the country for fear of imaginary persecution. We're supposed to be upset about this, I guess, though I can't see why. Also, flights across the country are grounded as the FAA experiences a catastrophic failure of its computer systems. Another major win for our historic transportation secretary. And the Biden administration is coming to ban gas stoves. Apparently, they're killing you, your children, and the planet. We'll talk about all that today on the Matt Walsh Show. At the beginning of last year, I predicted and promised that we would be launching a full-scale war on gender ideology. And now, as we sit at the beginning of 2023, we can clearly see how effective the gender ideology insurgency has been. Multiple states across the country, including here in Tennessee, are preparing to ring in the new year with legislation banning the sexual mutilation and sexual indoctrination of children. Soon, in these states at least, things like gender transition surgeries for minors, also family-friendly, quote-unquote, drag shows will be a thing of the past. We have legislation dealing with both subjects in Tennessee, which I expect to pass quite easily. These laws, though, have set off a new wave of panic on the left. It's a state of panic, but, it's been increasing even more recently as the media and trans activists, a distinction without a difference, preach about the dangers that these legislative efforts pose. Here's NBC. They, them, by the way, trying to explain the danger of these legislation.
We are only about a week into 2023, and across the country, people are already seeing a wave of anti-legislation making its way to state houses across the country. More than 24 bills looking to restrict trans so far this year. You see them here. In Texas, 3 separate bills affirming care for minors as child abuse. And an Oklahoma bill would ban gender-affirming care for anybody. I want to bring in NBC Out reporter Joe Yerkeva. So, Joe, talk about these new bills coming forward this year, who they're targeting, et cetera.
Yeah, so many of these bills, like you mentioned, seek to restrict or ban access to gender-affirming health care completely, and that includes hormone therapy, blockers, and surgery for anyone under 18. But some of them are taking it up a notch this year, like Oklahoma's, for example, which would bar that care for people up to 25, and would block coverage for that care under the state's Medicaid plan for anyone. And then we have a bill in Texas that seeks to completely bar minors from attending drag performances in the state. So what we're seeing is really an escalation of this legislation and over the last 2 years.
You describe it as an escalation. Part of that is because we saw record anti-trans legislation last year, more last year than the year before, et cetera, et cetera. Talk about where the trend lines are going and what this means for people in the LGBTQ+ community.
Yeah, well, advocates in Texas have told me that they expect things to get a lot worse before they get better. And so even if these bills don't have impact, a recent national survey, for example, from the Trevor Project found that 85% of trans and non-binary youth across the country said debates on the impact of their mental health.
Well, no, that's not what's going on. The debates around the legislation have not negatively affected any child's mental health. Rather, the things that people like Joe Yerkeva, they, them, are telling about the legislation are negatively affecting their mental health. These washed kids are being told that bills which protect them from mutilation and sterilization and exploitation and indoctrination will somehow put their lives. They are being told with a wink and a nudge. Maybe they might even want to kill themselves. The trans propagandists, because they're among the most evil people currently walking on the planet, tried to convince them to be afraid, confused, and suicidal. And that is indeed having an extremely deleterious impact on their mental health and their physical health and their spiritual health and their health in every other sense of the word. But it's not just trans-indoctrinated youths who the media says are now living in fear. Trans adults are feeling so terrified and oppressed that, as Vice reports this week, they are now fleeing the country. There will soon be trans refugee camps in places like Canada, I guess, until the camps are all shut down because the workers at the camps all end up fired because they can't keep track of everybody's pronouns. Here's Vice. Reports Rin Azriel Wilgos, a 50-year-old transgender woman, has been rapidly researching ways to flee the United States. She's from the U.S., but with physical attacks against transgender and non-binary people on the rise and lawmakers targeting transgender people with increasingly draconian legislation that criminalizes their very existence. Wilgos started her transition. She was traveling across the state for work when she decided to stop at a public bathroom. A man followed her inside and pushed her up against a wall. She told Vice News, "I thought he was going to choke me to death." Now, we need to stop here for a moment. First of all, notice how this man just began his, quote, transition, yet is already so persecuted, according to him, that he needs to leave the country. Also, as for the claim about the incident in the bathroom, it should be needless to say that anytime you hear anything like this from a trans activist, actually anytime you hear them say anything at all about anything, you should be immediately skeptical, absent any additional evidence. In this case, we aren't told whether this alleged encounter with the man in the bathroom even had anything to do with the fact that Rin identifies as trans. The incident is mentioned extremely briefly, with very few details, and then the story just, moves on. This is how it almost always works with claims of anti-trans violence. Very few details are provided, the story is always sketchy, but you're meant to just accept it as more proof of an epidemic of anti-trans hate crimes, even though there is no such epidemic to begin with. But back to the story. Today she feels mostly safe in Fargo, North Dakota, where she lives, but she's careful in rural areas. And when she leaves the state, she often doesn't feel safe at all. Wilgo said, "There's 30 states right now I wouldn't even drive through." Her own experiences and the increasingly hostile national climate inspired Wilgos to start Transport, a budding nonprofit that seeks to help trans people transition, navigate bureaucratic mazes, and ultimately finance their journeys as they flee the country. Wilgos is considering claiming asylum in Iceland, a country she visited last summer and considers more accepting and safer than the U.S., and she felt like being trans was a non-issue there. So there's currently a lack of clarity around whether it's even possible for transgender U.S. citizens to claim asylum elsewhere, and an expert told Vice News it's unlikely. The evolving situation in the U.S. has inspired people like Wilgos to try. So just to be clear, trans activists now want to claim asylum in foreign countries. Okay, they want to be treated like a defector fleeing North Korea. And of course the difference, and it's a very subtle difference, but the difference is that the North Korean asylum seeker, if he's not given asylum and is sent back to North Korea, will almost certainly end up at a concentration camp where he will be starved and beaten and tortured and killed. But what will happen to Rin Wilgos if he is not given asylum in Iceland? What awful, unspeakable fate awaits him back in the United States? What will happen to him? Well, literally nothing. Not a single thing. In fact, as a 50-year-old man who just decided about 85 seconds ago to become a woman, none of the laws being considered or passed in any state have any measurable impact on him at all. He says he's terrified to even drive through a state like Tennessee, as if we have anti-trans checkpoints set up, on the highway. Any trans person we catch will be carted off to a forced labor camp. Now that's the kind of picture they want you to have in your mind, but it's not actually what's happening. Instead, our laws, when they pass, will only prevent medical professionals from chopping the breasts off of teenage girls, or sterilizing children, or committing any similar acts. So these are laws that don't restrict trans people at all, in fact. They restrict doctors and what doctors can controversial apparently position that doctors should not be able to just do whatever they want. There should be regulations and laws in place governing what they can do and what they can't do. One of the things that they can't do or shouldn't be able to do is permanently, physically alter children before they are possibly able to consent to such a procedure. Now, if Rin is coming here to butcher children, then yes, he should be worried. Otherwise, perfectly. But he already knows. I mean, they all. What we're seeing from trans activists is one great performance, where they pretend to be fearing for their lives from a threat that they have invented. I mean, in reality, the far-left trans activist poses a greater danger than he faces. He is not under threat, he is a threat. He pushes for the recruitment, indoctrination, and butchery of children. He poses a clear and present danger to children. And he does this not because it will help the children. It's not why. It's not why Rin, Wilgos, or whoever. Why does he feel so strongly about making sure that children are castrated and sterilized? Is it because he thinks it will actually care about them at all? But no, it's the more people who are trans, the better he feels about himself. This is what trans activists do. And it's the trans activists who prowl about searching for people whose lives he can destroy for committing the sin of disagreeing with him. As far as that goes, this week provides yet another chapter in that saga. The Post-Millennial reports this. On Friday, the video game company Limited Run Games fired their community manager, a woman named Kara Lynn, after a far-left trans activist using the name Purple Tinker demanded that the company either fire Lynn because she followed conservative users on Twitter such as Ian Miles Chong and lives to TikTok, or lose their support. Ian Miles Chong tweeted, a video game company called Limited Run Games fired Kara Lynn because some nutjob got offended over the fact that she follows me and lives to TikTok. According to an Observer article from 2012, Purple Tinker is a biological male who identifies as transgender and an activist who founded BronyCon, a convention for adult men who like to dress up as characters from the children's television show My Little Pony. Chong posted screenshots of Purple Tinker's now deleted Twitter account. The community manager for Limited Run Games is a transphobe. This is the tweet. Is a transphobe, a veritable who's who of right-wing transphobic creeps. Unless and until she is fired from the company permanently, I am not giving them another single dime. That's what Purple Tinker tweeted at the company on January 6th at 9:06 a.m. Now, at 5:40 p.m. the same day, on their Twitter account, Limited Run Games announced that Lynn has been fired and wrote, quote, LRG respects all personal opinions. However, we remain committed to supporting an inclusive culture. Upon investigating a situation, an employee was terminated. Our goal as a company is to continue to foster a positive and safe environment for everyone. So, did they really fire an employee? By the way, within hours? It was like almost immediately made the decision to get rid of this person because one creepy trans activist with a My Little Pony fetish complained about the account she follows on Twitter? Yes, that seems to be precisely what happened. And it is the sort of power trans activists wield in a country they pretend to be persecuted by. And they are among the only ones who have that kind of power. Where one of them can make a complaint about someone and say, I think that person should lose their job. Off with their head. They have upset me. And they get a response. You or I. They whine about the dangers and the marginalization they face while at the same time using their vastly outsized political power to professionally and financially destroy anyone who defies it. And if they can't succeed in that regard, they will, as I've discovered, dox you, threaten to murder you and your family, and they do it all while refusing to relinquish their victims' rights. It's exactly the behavior you would expect from extreme narcissists who believe that the world exists for no other purpose than to affirm them. So, in conclusion, that's all to say, if they really are leaving the country, then I guess all we should say in response is, okay, bye. Next up, Stacey Abrams' possibly fake heartbreak story that propelled her into her sad and lonely life. You better hear this. Stay tuned.
Oh man, this real estate market is so crazy right now. The folks who list their home with someone convenient, like a friend of a friend or a family member, without really checking out their credentials, that's such a mistake. Because time goes by, the home isn't sold, or you don't get as much money as you could have out of it. Daniel, for instance, listed a $3.5 million home in San Mateo with another agent. After 6 months, his home hadn't sold. He finally enlisted the help of the Jameson team. Bob and Sandy Jameson with Toscana Properties saw how they operated. They marketed the heck out of it. Daniel's home sold within 30 days with multiple bidders. Call the Jameson team first.
Yeah, they've got over 50 years of experience. Interest rates went up. How does that affect the housing market? How does that affect buyers? How does that affect sellers? They know this with their experience, the Jameson team.
Call the team. We trust Bob and Sandy Jameson, the Jameson team. I've been in real estate. I know who to trust. Give them a call. You'll be impressed. 408-686-HOME. That's 408-686-HOME. Or just see them online. SandyHasBuyers.com.
The Jameson Team, Toscana Properties, DRE license number 01845393.
Individual rates, coverage offerings, and savings may vary. Subject to terms and conditions. Not available.
As a small business, we're always looking for ways that we can offer and get some cost savings.
Meet Michelle from J.J. Pfister Distilling Company, a small business looking for workers' comp coverage tailored to the company's needs. She discovered Pi Insurance.
We heard about Pi Insurance being geared for a small business, gave Pi a call, and ended up switching.
Is your small business overpaying for workers' comp insurance? See how much you could save at trypi.com. Plus, when you sign up for pay-as-you-go billing, your premium is based on your actual payroll, not an estimate, so your workers' comp audit experience is simplified.
We saved about 30% off of our workers' comp insurance when we switched to Pi.
It's as easy as pie to get the savings you deserve. What are you waiting for? Ask your agent for Pi, or get a quote in 3 minutes at trypi.com. That's TRYPIE.com.
Yeah, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch her soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much, I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Our governor's been on a Florida spending spree.
Gavin Newsom's taking out ads to attack Ron DeSantis. Come to the free state of California. Imagine that. By the way, income tax in California is 12.3%. In Florida, it's 0.0%.
And what would Hannity expect from a Newsom presidency?
He won't govern any differently than Joe Biden. The policies will be the same, if not worse. We'll become the United Sanctuary States of America.
Hannity, noon to 3 on your radio and smart speaker at 560 KSFO.
We're back with the Matt Walsh Show. Ellen DeGeneres has some thoughts, and her show is over now, and she kind of left in disgrace, and now I think she's looking for what's the next stage in her career, and her next stage is as kind of a shaman, a witch doctor, doing a rain dance. So here she is with some scientific thoughts on the rain and the flooding issues in California. Good clip for me to play. That's why I never listen to clips before I play them, because you can't understand anything she said. But what she did say at the end there, the point was, she said that Mother Nature is angry at us. She's standing next to this flooding river, and she says Mother Nature is angry at us, and we need to be nature so that she's not angry. Mother Nature is punishing us. Now, the climate change alarmists, the environmentalists, have been speaking this way about the issue for a long time. They go about Mother Nature, and we've made her angry, and she's punishing us. And I think for a while, people assumed that they were being, this was kind of poetic language, they're being metaphorical. So people assumed. But that was not a valid assumption, because they mean it quite literally. This is religion right here. This is super. This is what we have to wrap our minds around. This is actually what they think.